It has been around a while. Well, I'm kind of aging myself, but my brother drove that bus back in 1987. And that was our dispatch office for a long time, up on top of the moraine. And they just finally brought it down last year. Last year they were talking briefly about putting a new engine in it and getting it going again. That would be neat. I think we should have retro tours. You should have the choice between either driving, you know, a nice, comfortable, modern Ice Explorer bus, or you should kind of be able to say, hey, I want to go in one of the old Bombardiers. I was here in 1967, so you're going to be glaciologists by the time you get back from this tour. And part of the tour is moraines. We're surrounded by moraines. The ones we were just looking at, those are terminal moraines. They represent the furthest advance of the Athabasca Glacier. These small hills to our right, they're another type of moraine. They are called annual or push moraines. And yeah, the glacier did all those. It just acts like a big bulldozer in the winter, and it pushes forward, pushes all that rock and debris in front of it, and then in the summer months it recedes. And it leaves that little hill behind. Those hills to our right about where this hill is, right on our right-hand side, that hill was put there in around 1890. That's when that's about where the glacier was in 1890. All right, I'm going to call up to your Ice Explorer driver and let him know you're on your way. I'll be back with you in just a second. Have they ever found any human remains? Well, yes, they have. A lot of interesting things melt out at glaciers. I don't want to ruin some of the tour, but you never know what your Ice Explorer driver is going to talk about. So I will mention a few things that have melted out of a glacier. This particular glacier, the Athabasca, back in 1997, a tree melted out of it. And the very first thing, the tree itself is on display down at the ticket office in the basement. The very first thing they did was they carbon dated the tree, and they found out it was 8,500 years old. So if you want to see what an 8,500-year-old tree looks like, check it out on your way back down to the ticket office. It is kind of strange because all that ice you see off to your right-hand side, that's all left over from the last ice age, 10,000 years ago. So 8,500 years ago, though, the climate in this area was sufficiently warm enough to support trees growing out here. So if you guys can figure that out, you let me know, because I'm still working on it. No, there's nobody around here, no. As far as people are concerned, if you look off to your left-hand side, you've got Mount Athabasca. And Athabasca is 11,400 feet tall. It's about 3,500 meters. And it is one of the most climbed mountains in the Canadian Rockies. And one of the guys that works here, a guy named Adam, he was just on one of his hikes on days off. He walked up the Dome Valley, which is on the other side of that big rock you see to the right. That big wedge-shaped mountain, that's Lower Snow Dome. So he was walking just on a day hike, and he came across the guy that fell off a snow dome in 1979, melted out in 2010. And he was still face down, still holding on to his ice axes. So occasionally that does happen, yes. No, he was perfectly preserved. Perfectly preserved. Yeah. Alright, we'll see you in a while.
Like that, right? It's actually, I'm actually deaf, so it's okay. He likes to joke around a little bit, as we like to do up here. And so welcome aboard. My name's John. I'm going to take you guys out onto the glacier today. And wow, it's good to see like a full bus at 5 o'clock. Usually it's much quieter. I guess the holiday weekend. It's about a 2-kilometer drive out to that point. Everyone ready for the hill? All right, let's go. Now I usually do this part of the tour with my eyes closed, so it's an 18-degree slope or a 32% grade. It is one of the steepest publicly accessible roadways in North America. You're probably wondering by this point how we can go down the hill safely. Well, we do have a couple things on board the vehicle helping us out. One of them is that set of tires. They're 5 feet tall, 3.5 feet wide. Really low tire pressure of 15 psi, about half what's in your family sedan. So we get pretty good traction. We also have a device on board that's called the transmission lockup. It keeps us locked into first gear. Keeps us going down a nice steady pace, and I don't have to use the brakes too much on the way down. Depends on how big a lunch I had. But yeah, make it down the hill again. 18-degree slope, 32% grade. Does anyone want to guess why we drive through the puddle?
Washes your tires off.
Yeah, exactly. Clean off those tires. It's pretty muddy, pretty dusty up there, where you guys first got on my bus. We don't want to drag that up onto the glacier because it would make it pretty dirty and actually heat up in the sunshine in the summer and melt the ice faster than if we weren't here. So we wash the tires off. It does a pretty good job there. One thing that you will notice, though, you're probably thinking, John, it looks really dirty here. Like the snow, this is winter snow on either side of us, and the winter snow has a lot of dust on it and dirt. Well, that dust and dirt is from the lateral moraine. It gives you an idea that it is quite unstable, and the winds actually can be strong enough here to pick up that sand and dust and blow it out onto our glacier here. Now the winter snow that we see is left over, of course, from this winter. We get 21 feet or 7 meters of snow here at the glacier every year. And in mid-March, when we come up to plow out the road here and snow blow the road to begin our operations, there's usually about 15 feet of snow just over the height of my bus sitting out on the glacier here. We do that in March. Middle of March we come up here. High elevations next to the ice field, we're forming new ice because it snows there, and that snow stays year-round. It begins to pile up on top of itself, and once you have 30 meters or 100 feet of glacial ice, or snow, pardon me, on top of itself, it begins to form glacial ice. And so up there, it's like your paycheck coming in, you know, you're making money, you're doing it. In 1843, the ice stretched all the way to the ice field center, to that terminal moraine Todd probably pointed out at the very beginning of the tour. The glacier was also much thicker as well. The surface of the ice that we're traveling on here was as high, if not even a little bit higher, than the lateral moraine, which we see on the left-hand side of the bus there, towering above us 100 meters or 300 feet. So it gives you an idea, we've lost 40% of the mass in our glacier here in the last 150 to 60 years. Yeah. Changes quite a bit. And that's been pretty characteristic of all the glaciers and the ice field here in the Canadian Rockies. There's many different ice fields along the way here in the Canadian Rockies, along the Icefield Parkway, hence its name. Alright, well, we're almost here at the turnaround point. This is where we'll get a chance to go outside, walk around a little bit. We may or may not be the last tour of the day. I think we probably won't be, considering how many people are on the bus here. So I'll give my usual spiel about buses moving around. So, this is the turnaround point.
I have to help you, guys might be slippery there, I think. At the bottom. Watch your step.
good time?
It depends.
There you have it. It goes as fast uphill as it does downhill, yeah. 18 kilometers or 12 miles per hour. Not too quick. It's a good thing today too. The sun that was out early in the morning has made the road pretty bumpy, so we don't want to go too fast. Now these vehicles here, this bus, like others that we have, were built by a Calgary-based company. The name was foremost of the company that builds these vehicles here. They usually build oil field equipment, but they built these vehicles specifically for our operation here at the Athabasca Glacier. So there's not many of them around. The only other bus like this that doesn't operate here at the glacier, or that isn't on display down in Banff, is owned and operated by the US government down in Antarctica. And it works at the McMurdo Research Base and it ferries scientific personnel and supplies between the airstrip near there and the base itself. Looks very similar to this, except it's got much smaller windows and it's much more insulated than our bus is here. How much is a bus? Well, right now a new bus would cost us about $1.2 million, but we haven't had to buy a new bus since 2001, so we have our fleet. They do go back to foremost to get retrofitted every once in a while, like our older buses. But we've been operating buses like this one since 1985 here on the glacier. In fact, my bus began operating here in 1987. So it's an old bus, but it still does the trick. So at the Columbia Ice Field, in this region in general, we have a neat feature here. It's called a hydrological apex, or a triple continental divide. Just remember those three words there. First, triple continental divide. And from the ice field itself, meltwater will flow in three different directions to three different oceans, to the Atlantic, the Arctic, and the Pacific. And this triple continental divide is actually located on one single mountain. The mountain's name is Mount Snowdome. And it's called that because it's completely covered over by the ice field. There's no rocky summit to that mountain. It's just a big dome of snow. And from that point, again, water going three different directions. Now, you can't see Mount Snowdome on our tour here, but where you'll be able to see it from is down at the ice field center. It's on the same side of the highway as all these mountains here in the glaciers. It looks like a big piece of chocolate cake with white icing on the very top. You can tell I'm getting hungry, it's about supper time now. So, now as we pass through the ice core moraine here, I'll give you an idea about what type of rock we have in this area. All the rock in this area is sedimentary rock. We have a lot of sandstone, shale, and dolomite. Very prone to erosion, that's why we see so much erosion here. Partly because of all the glaciers, which used to inhabit the valleys down below, but also because of the intense freeze-thaw action that happens here. So water will seep into the layers between the rock, and then it will expand when it freezes and break the rocks apart. Keep in mind, in 1843, the ice stretched all the way to that point and has been steadily moving back into our valley here, about 30 feet or 10 meters every year. There's a small lake down in the valley too. It's called Sunwapta Lake. There's a road that leads out there. If you got extra time, not in a rush to go anywhere, take a little stroll out to the lake. It's pretty nice. It's kind of frozen right now, but that lake is where the meltwater from our glacier stops briefly before it continues northward down the Sunwapta River. And then way off in the distance, if you're heading to Jasper tonight, you'll be able to see this chain of mountains. We can just make it out through the clouds. It's called the Endless Chain. 27 kilometers or 18 miles of continuous mountain. One of the longest continuous chains in North America. All right, well, I just hear the bus down. It hasn't left the bottom yet. It's the one that's going to come pick you guys up, but you can hang out here if you want to stay warm until it's coming up, and I'll let you know when it's going to be here. But thank you guys very much for joining me. I hope you had a good time out there. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
If anybody wants to see an avalanche, we've had quite a few in the area in the last little while. So keep your eyes on this Wilcox Pass here in front of us. So Italy. Oh yeah, it's all right, so I was just asked if you need a special pass to get through here. If you want to go hike up to, like these people just on the right-hand side. Perfect timing. All right, so if you want to go that, all you have to do is talk to Parks Canada, and they will let you know how to do it. Basically, all you're doing is signing up and just letting them know when you want to be up and when back down, just in case you go missing, so they'll know if they need to go find you or not. Other than that, you can come right up. Yeah, that's why they do the little sign in, sign out. If you're missing for more than 15 hours past their time, they'll come find you. Generally, the people that will climb up there, they better know what they're doing. If not, you don't need much time to find them. They're at the bottom already. Not specifically on that mountain, but if you want to go 10 minutes down south where the Weeping Wall is, a lot of people, we've had a lot of injuries, if you will. And then on Parker Ridge, which is also just down the road too, we usually a few people lost there every year as well. A lot of avalanches. Oh, and actually, just as we're cruising around on this other side, when we get around the corner, you guys heard about that Triple Continental Divide, where Snow Dome is. So I'll show you a spot. We just had one of the biggest avalanches around here in a while. I'll show you where it actually started. It was a Class 4 avalanche. The biggest one you can get is a Class 5. Basically, it sounded like a thunderstorm was happening, like a thunderclap. It woke a few people up. And we live about a kilometer that way. Not year-round. In the winter time, it gets to about -50 here, with about 30 to 35 feet of snow. So it's not really hospitable. All right, so if you want to look to the left-hand side, there's a curtain of ice that's about 500 feet tall. It's kind of hard to miss. If you look just north of that, that's where that Snow Dome and Triple Continental Divide is. Just to the right of it, there's kind of a ridge. That's where that Class 4 avalanche happened. Oh, interesting factoid of the day. A Class 3 avalanche, if it's heading down the mountain, it can actually crush a car before the snow gets there just from the pressure. Lake we just passed on the right-hand side, that's called Ripple Lake. It's actually a spring-fed lake. Most of the lakes around here are glacial-fed, so that's where we get all of our drinking water from. If you want to look to the right-hand side, you see a green roof. That's where all the staff live. So there's about 115 of us living in a little place called the Ice Palace. If anybody has their master's in psychology or is trying to get their master's and they want to write a paper on isolation, here's a great spot. We have no internet, no TV, no cell phones, and we're together with the same people for 8 straight months. You are correct. Oh, if anybody's wondering when the best time to take a picture of Snow Dome is, it's right now. Unfortunately, it's a bit fogged in on the very top, but you can see a couple of crevasses that are starting to open up, and when they do open up, the entire top 50 feet of ice that's on that is just going to drop, and it'll be literally a Class 5 avalanche. And I've been waiting like every single day.
All you do is break puzzles. Lots of
Alright guys, I hope you had a great time with us today.
Alright, have a good one. Bye.